Have you ever felt stuck in the same routine, saving, waiting, hoping, but never really living? Yeah, I've been there too. This is the story of the moment everything changed. A journey that started with fear, and ended with freedom. Let's dive in. Learning to live. I worked every day. I saved every coin. I did not buy new clothes. I did not go on trips. I did not eat in restaurants. People said, "You should enjoy life." But I did not listen. I wanted to have more money. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to be ready for anything. So I worked harder. I saved more. My bank account grew, but my life stayed the same. My house was small. My car was old. My clothes were simple. I did not care what I thought. One day I will have enough. One day I will rest. But that day never came. Every time I looked at my money, I thought, not yet. I need more. I watched others travel, eat good food, and buy nice things. But I told myself, they are not careful. They do not think about the future. Then one evening, everything changed. I was driving home. The road was dark. The rain was heavy. My hands held the wheel tight. I was careful. But then, bright lights came fast. A loud sound. A strong hit. My car turned. My head hit something. My body felt pain. Everything went black. I woke up in a hospital. The room was white. The light was bright. My body hurt, my arms, my legs, my chest. Everything was sore. A doctor stood near me. He said, "You are lucky. The accident was bad, but you will be fine." I looked at my hands. I moved my legs. I was alive, but I was afraid. What if I had died? What if I had no more time? What would happen to my money? What would happen to my plans? I lay in bed and thought, I had saved money, but I had never used it. I had worked hard, but I had never enjoyed life. I had waited, but for what? I thought about my days. Wake up. Work. Save money. Sleep. Again and again. No joy. No adventure. No memories. Only waiting. That night, I made a decision. I did not want to wait anymore. I did not want to just save. I wanted to live. The hospital was quiet. I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. My body still hurt, but my mind was awake. I thought about my life. I thought about all the years I had worked. I had spent so much time saving money. I had never taken a break. I had never traveled. I had never done anything fun. My days were always the same: work, eat, sleep, repeat. Now I was here, in this bed, and I realized something. Money could not change this moment. My savings could not take away my pain. A nurse walked in. She smiled at me and said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I am okay." She checked my pulse and wrote something on a paper. "You are lucky," she said. "Many people do not survive bad accidents." Her words stayed in my mind. I was lucky. I was still alive. But what if I had not been? What if my life had ended that night? I had spent years saving, but for what? I had not lived. I had only waited. The doctor came later. He told me I needed to rest. He said I had no broken bones, but my body needed time to heal. I nodded, but my thoughts were far away. Rest? I never rested. I always worked. I always saved. But now, I could not work. I had to stop. I had to think. The accident had forced me to see the truth: my life was empty. I had spent my time collecting money, not moments. I had spent my days planning for a future I might never see. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about my life. I had missed so much. I had never seen the ocean. I had never climbed a mountain. I had never danced in the rain. I had never tried new food. I had never watched a sunset without thinking about work. I had been too busy saving for one day. But when was one day? When would I finally live? I did not know. I made a promise to myself: when I left this hospital, I would change. I would not wait anymore. I would not live for money. I would live for life. I would travel. I would try new things. I would enjoy every moment. I would stop saying not yet. Because life does not wait. And I did not want to wait anymore. The days in the hospital were long. I watched the clock. I listened to the sounds in the hall. I waited for the doctor. My body hurt, but my thoughts were clear. I thought about my life before the accident. I had been careful. I had been smart. I had saved money. But I had not lived. I had only worked. I had only waited. And for what? The nurse came in with my food. She smiled and said, "You are getting better." I nodded. She placed the tray on the table and left. I looked at the food. It was simple: bread, soup, and tea. I picked up the spoon and took a bite. It was warm. It was good. I never noticed small things like this before. I was always too busy. I was always thinking about work. But now I had time. And for the first time, I enjoyed a simple meal. Later, the doctor came. He checked my wounds. He said, "You will go home soon." I nodded. Home. My small house. My old car. My quiet life. But now, everything felt different. I did not want to go back to the same routine. I did not want to sit at home and wait for the future. I wanted to change. But how? I did not know. That evening, I looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was red and gold. It was beautiful. I had never watched a sunset like this before. I had always been too busy. I had always been working. But now, I sat still. I watched the colors change. I felt the moment. And I smiled. The next day, I stood up for the first time. My legs were weak, but I walked slowly. The nurse helped me. She said, "You are strong." I did not feel strong. I felt different. I felt new. I felt like a man who had been asleep for years and was now waking up. I did not want to waste another day. I wanted to live. That night, I made a decision. When I left the hospital, I would do something new. I would take a trip. I would go somewhere I had never been. I did not know where. I did not know how. But I knew one thing: I was done waiting. My life was just beginning. The day finally came. The doctor said, "You can go home." I packed my things. The nurse helped me to the door. She smiled and said, "Take care of yourself." I nodded. I stepped outside. The air was fresh. The sky was blue. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I was free. I was alive. I got into a taxi. The driver asked, "Home?" I paused. My home was small. It was quiet. It was the same as before. But I was not the same. I looked out the window. The city was busy. People walked fast. Cars moved quickly. Everyone had a place to go. I thought, where do I want to go? For the first time, I did not want to go home. I wanted something new. At home, everything was the same, my bed, my chair, my table. But I felt different. I sat down and looked around. My house was simple. My life was simple. But I wanted more. I wanted to see new places. I wanted to try new things. I had saved money for years. Now it was time to use it. I opened my laptop. I searched for places to visit, beaches, mountains, cities. There were so many choices. I had never done this before. I had never planned a trip. I had always said, not now. Maybe later. But now I was ready. I was excited. I picked a place, a small town by the sea. It was far away. It was different. I bought a ticket. My hands shook. I had never bought a ticket before. My heart beat fast. I was nervous. I was scared. But I was also happy. This was new. This was the beginning. The next morning, I packed my bag, clothes, shoes, a book. I looked at my house one last time. It had been my world for years. It had been my safe place. But now I was ready to leave. I locked the door and took a deep breath. My journey was starting. At the airport, everything was loud and busy. People talked. Luggage rolled. Announcements played. I held my ticket. I looked at the planes. I had never been on a plane before. I had never traveled. But now it was time. I walked forward. I did not look back. The plane took off. I looked out the window. The city became small. The clouds were white and soft. My heart beat fast. I had never flown before. I had always stayed on the ground. I had always played it safe. But now I was high in the sky. I was going somewhere new. I was doing something different. It felt strange. It felt exciting. The flight was long, but I did not feel tired. I watched people around me. Some read books. Some slept. Some talked and laughed. I wondered how many of them had done this before. For them, maybe this was normal. But for me, this was the first time. This was the start of something new. I smiled. I was proud of myself. When the plane landed, I felt nervous. The airport was big. People moved fast. I took my bag and followed the signs. I stepped outside. The air was warm. The sky was bright. Everything looked different, the buildings, the streets, the people. This was not my city. This was not my home. But I felt something new. I felt free. I took a taxi to my hotel. The driver talked to me. He asked, "First time here?" I nodded. "Yes," I said. He smiled. "You will love it," he said. I looked out the window. The streets were full of life. People walked and talked. Music played in the air. The sea was close. I could smell it. I had never been to the sea before. I had only seen it in pictures. But now I was here. At the hotel, I checked in. My room was small but nice, a bed, a chair, a window with a view of the ocean. I put my bag down and sat on the bed. I had traveled far. I had done something new. I had left my old life behind. I had taken the first step. It felt good. I felt different. I felt alive. That evening, I walked to the beach. The sand was soft under my feet. The waves moved gently. The sound of the water was calm. I stood there and watched. The sun was setting. The sky turned orange and pink. It was beautiful. I had never seen anything like this before. I had never taken the time. But now I was here, and I was not in a hurry. I sat down and listened to the waves. I thought about my old life. I thought about all the years I had worked and saved. I had been careful. I had been smart, but I had not been happy. I had waited too long. I had wasted too much time. But not anymore. I was done waiting. I took off my shoes and walked in the water. It was cold, but I did not care. I laughed. I felt the waves touch my skin. It was a small thing, but it felt big. It felt new. It felt like the first step into a different life, a life I wanted to live. The night air was cool. The beach was quiet. I sat there for a long time. I watched the stars appear in the sky. I had never looked at the stars like this before. I had always been too busy. But now I had time. I had no plans. No work, no pressure. Just this moment. And it was enough. I closed my eyes and listened. The sound of the waves. The wind in the trees. The distant voices of people walking by. This was life. This was what I had missed, not money, not work, not saving for a future that may never come. But moments like this. Simple. Pure. Real. I took a deep breath. I felt peace. I felt joy. I'd spent years waiting for the perfect time. But now I knew the truth, the perfect time does not exist. Life is now. And I was ready to live it. The morning sun shone through my window. I opened my eyes slowly and listened, no alarms, no rushing, just the sound of waves outside. I got up and walked to the window. The ocean stretched far into the horizon. Golden under the sunlight. I took a deep breath and smiled. This was my last day here, but it did not feel like an ending. It felt like the start of something new. After breakfast, I decided to take a long walk. The streets were lively, filled with people going about their day. I passed small shops, colorful houses, and children playing by the roadside. Everything felt warm and full of life. I had spent years ignoring moments like this, always focused on saving, on working. But now I wanted to enjoy everything. I wanted to see, to hear, to feel. I reached the beach and sat down on the sand. The waves moved back and forth, endless and calm. I thought about my old life. The long hours at work. The quiet nights alone. The money saved but never spent. I had been so careful, so afraid of losing what I had, that I had forgotten to live. But life was not just about saving. It was about experiencing. And I was ready to experience more. Later that day, I met a man who owned a small boat. He offered to take me to a nearby island. I hesitated for a moment. Before this trip, would have said no. I would have thought about the cost, about the risk. But now I smiled and said yes. The boat moved gently over the water. The wind touched my face. I closed my eyes and felt it all. It was simple, but it was beautiful. On the island, I walked alone for a while. The sand was wide and the trees were tall and green. I picked up a small rock, smooth and round. I held it in my hand and thought about everything that had happened, the accident, the hospital, the decision to change. I had been given a second chance, and I was not going to waste it. As the sun began to set, I returned to town. I stopped at a small cafe and ordered a cup of tea. The owner, an old woman, smiled at me. "First time here?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes," I said, "but not the last." She laughed and poured my tea. "Good," she said. "Life is too short to stay in one place." I smiled. I understood that now. That night, I sat by the ocean one last time. The stars above were bright. The waves were soft. I thought about the future. I had spent years saving for a life I never lived. But now I knew what I wanted. I wanted to see new places, meet new people, and collect memories, not just money. The next morning, I packed my bag. But this time, I was not just going home. I was going forward into a life where I was not just working and waiting. A life where I was truly living. I took one last look at the ocean, then turned away, ready for whatever came next. This was not the end of my journey. It was only the beginning. I hope this session brought you value and a moment to reflect. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.